I was pacing 180K 2.5 years out of school in roofing sales. Nobody in my degree path was making that money, and I was like 23. And I quit because I was super intrigued by the remote closing thing.
What are some of the coolest things that you've learned after building a community?
I'm really trying to like solve the problem in the most efficient way. I know people that have done all the training in the world, $20,000, $30,000 worth of training, can't even land a good offer to save their lives.
What would you say to someone who wants to get into the content game but just might be overthinking it? Welcome. We are back with the absolute legend in the space, Dylan Vergara. He's a force to be reckoned with, and if you need a remote sales position, he's your guy to call. So let's just jump right into it, man. No, we don't have a name for the podcast. We're just intentionally ripping and seeing where life takes us.
That's a good way to do it. I had a podcast before the current one, and I knew what I wanted to record, but I didn't really have a big plan with it. And I was just like, what are we talking about? Who am I talking to? Okay, Sales Bro Pod. Didn't think about it twice, just ran with it. We did like 40 episodes, but I think it's more important like who you have on versus what it's called, you know?
Yeah, man. I think a lot of times, this has happened to me specifically, I just get lost in the planning and the execution and the whiteboard of the whole thing. And so many people get stuck there where they think they need to come up with the name or the perfect product or the perfect service. I was on with a guy named Josh who is running a lot of the back end for Greg Eisenberg. And he talks about this idea of, I'm going to probably mess it up, but it's like ACP, it's something like audience, content, product. A lot of people try to go in the opposite direction where they create a product or an offer and then they reverse engineer it, but just post content first, and then you'll kind of create a dialogue with your listeners and your viewers.
The audience tells you, they will reveal to you what they want from you if you just post content. If you don't post content, then there's no way to receive the signal, right? So
yeah, it's got to be a dialogue. And he also left me with this nugget, which was like, go find your 3 commenters. Even if you're posting content and you're getting 20 views, 100 views, whatever, it's like there's probably 2 or 3 people commenting. Go have a conversation with them and figure out why they're there, because those are the OGs, right? And you're probably going to attract more if you want to go that direction. So just to kind of set the frame, I'd love to understand a little bit. I know you mentioned that you've told your origin story here and there, and your listeners that might be coming over, they kind of already know. But for someone that might be brand new to you, give me like not the 2-second version, but not the 30-minute version. Give me like the 2 to 5 minute version of who you are, where you came from before sales. Give me the whole origin story, condensed though.
I could do it. I've done it enough times. I think I got it down.
Cool.
All right. Small kid, San Antonio, Texas. Didn't grow up. I grew up in like middle class. I'm not gonna say lower middle class. I don't know. I had to work for what we had, right?
Yep.
I really fell in love with skateboarding. Got like a group of friends that did that. Over time, skateboarding, like you guys watching, you probably know some skateboarders, usually like a little bit more to themselves, not the most ambitious. Like there's a certain personality, and I kind of fell into that. But I was always like good at school. I was always like responsible, and I did hold myself to the high standard. I just liked skateboarding. Anyways, skateboarded for like 15 years, and my dad is Air Force, and so my college education was paid for through the Hazelwood Act.
Shout out to the Air Force.
Shout out to the Air Force. And so going to college wasn't really a question if it was like what I'm going to study.
Yeah.
And so went to college, got into architecture, realized that was not where I wanted to be, went into construction science and management, and then did all that. I basically started working at 15, and I was like really responsible with my money, and I had to buy everything that I wanted. After school, I got an internship with a roofing company as a project manager.
Yep.
Basically stayed there after school, and then not long after I graduated, I turned into like an estimator, which was like sales for the company, because I didn't speak Spanish. Couldn't really manage the crews all that well if I didn't speak Spanish. So
like, who's this kid? Tell me what to do.
Yeah. And so all through this point, dude, I'm like, I'm still ambitious personally, but like I'm quiet, I'm reserved. I'm not the guy that's going to go and start conversations with people, at least first. But I can socialize when I need to, but like it's not like a natural thing. And then I find myself chasing a higher income realizing like, dude, I'm in a sales position, and that is like the opposite of what I ever thought I could be or would be. But I saw an opportunity to make $100,000 per year, a year or two out of college, and I was like, I'm gonna put all this other shit aside and do this because I know that's gonna get me closer to where I want to be. Going back to like being a kid, I never wanted to be astronaut, president, police officer, anything like that. I just wanted
no firefighter.
Yeah, no. I just wanted to like have optionality. Like I wanted to be able to provide at a really high level while still being like super present with my people. And I kind of had to backfill the gaps to realize like sales is the opportunity that would unlock that for me. And once I did, I just went all in. And so, second year in, second full year, or second and a half, 2.5, 3.5 year in there, I was pacing 180K, like 2.5 years out of school, in roofing sales, which is a crazy income. Like nobody in my degree path was making that money. And I was like 23. And I quit because I had saved up some money previously, and I was super intrigued by the remote closing thing because I got to the point where I was like, dude, if I can become the person that is able to make 180K in a year at 23 years old, I'm confident in my ability to do that again. Why don't I play offense and now optimize for like the remote lifestyle? So I was driving around the city, getting, peak summer here in Texas. It's hot. It was hot yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Getting in attics, like getting on roofs. It was dangerous. And, I was like, dude, I need to play offense so I can get out of this before like I fall off a roof, I injure myself. So then I kind of pressed the reset button. I get into remote closing. This was 2022, and I do both for a little bit. It was hard. I go full into remote closing. Basically throughout 2022 and through 2023, I'm remote closing. I'm posting on social media. I started like a low ticket. It was basically a group chat. It was like $9 per month at the end of 2022. And then
absolute over delivery.
Yeah. And then, I got into management end of 2023, did that for a while. Basically I'd never managed before and got thrown into the gauntlet, which was good. End of 2023 through 2024, I started and scaled a sales agency, got up to 30 people in under a year working for us and doing pretty well. And then, at the same time, so I was just doing sales agency, running my community, not being a closer, not being a sales manager. I was more of like the operator in the agency. Fast forward through 2024, I got a buyout in the agency in February. After scaling that, I was like, this is not the business model that I want to do long term. And so I got a buyout, still run the community to this day. It's going on 3 years now. And I am running a sales media type of company now. So Because of Sales is a podcast, newsletter, and social media platform. And that's what I'm doing today. So.
Absolutely, man. Well, props to you for all the success. You're one of the few guys in the space that has executed at each level quickly, realized that it might not be what they want to do, and then made a pivot. And luckily, you were able to create something of your own. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the business was yours, but you created something on your own in addition to that allowed you that optionality, like you said. And so I can tell that that's a big thing for you. So 3 years on the community, awesome work. If you guys are looking for a remote sales position, Dylan is the guy. I actually got off of a interview with somebody from your community yesterday, and they were by far the best person that I talked to. And that's so good. I won't mention any names, but he's a rock star and we'll probably hire him. So tell us about Because of Sales and why you decided to go the media route and like what your real mission is, or what are you trying to accomplish with that? Yeah.
I mean, I've like taken a stab at a lot of these different online business models. The community, I still run it. I don't have a huge problem with that one. That one's cool. The agency, the nature of what we were doing, managing salespeople is hard, and doing it at scale is even harder. I'm a big like control guy, and I felt like with the agency, I didn't have the control that I would have liked to have, and it was just like a constant firefighting kind of chase. The idea of like starting a media company is I have full control over the sense that like, dude, I can say something on a microphone, I can type something on the keyboard or talk to my iPhone and say something, And that could be shown in front of one person, 100 people, a million people. And it's the same exact thing. It's me having the control. And so there's definitely some companies out there that newsletters. We're focusing on the newsletter and then like supporting it with the pod and the socials. But I mean, the newsletter business is lucrative in itself. And so you probably know a little bit about that. And so I thought, something a little bit more long-term to chase after and harder to build. But I was like, I have a platform for it. And I'm interested in more of just like a longer term pursuit now. Like I've made the money, the quick money through a community or the agency. It's like, let me try to build something a little bit bigger. Yeah.
I'd like to maybe touch on that for a second. So one of the words you mentioned is like timelines, right? So I think a lot of people mess up because they're super young and they haven't necessarily zoomed out as much. When you think about a sales rep, they kind of think day to day, right? It's like, how much commission can I make today? And now being in management and managing a team and really trying to think about pushing a company forward to 8 figures, I've had to think month to month, quarterly, even annually. And founders and CEOs, they think in terms of years and decades, typically. Hormozi says something along the lines of, you can tell how wise a person is by the timelines that they operate from. And so what would you say to someone who is kind of thinking day to day and what you've learned after going through a few of those iterations?
Yeah, it's the same thing as like, hitting those first milestones, the 10K, the 20K month. And the advice that people get before those, it's like, your parents can tell you, it's like, dude, don't blow your money on that car. Don't buy this dumb stuff. Or your friends can be like, oh, you don't need that $50,000 watch. But like, I think part of like the human experience is like coming to that conclusion yourself, know? And so what would I tell to the person that's still chasing like the day-to-day income? It's like, well, you're probably not financially in a position to even like begin thinking annually, or in terms of years. So it all depends. I can speak on my personal experiences. Like when that switch happened for me, I've had like some really, really like, I guess, big earning milestones, like monthly or annually and all that. But like, I just started to realize like, okay, I'm sitting on this amount of money and I'm making this amount of money, but like my life really doesn't look any different than if I were making a quarter of this, And that's when I was just like, similar when I went from roofing to remote, it was like, what's the next thing I need to optimize for? It's not money. I've got to the point where it's not money. In roofing, I was making the good money. I was optimizing for freedom and like remote living. Like location. Now it's like, okay, well, I went into this remote stuff. I hit the checkbox of the money again. What's the next thing that's important to me that I don't have now? And it is just like something longer term. Like this online space is pretty fast paced. So like that's kind of the thought process. Like you gotta get in the position to be able to like not think about the money. It's usually tied to money for most people because like it's expensive to live, right? And then once you can be like, all right, dude, I could rot in my bed for a couple of years and still be okay. It's like, what's the next pursuit,
Yeah, I think a lot of times that's a great point, which is if you don't have your financial situation squared up, then focus on the bread. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, and I would say
you should
go for it. Like absolutely dial in your money, figure out what it is that you want to take home. The goalpost is always going to move until you hit that point of like, oh, okay, I don't want to just keep chasing the different goalposts. And so it seems like you've realized that a little bit earlier on. Instead of trying to go to these gigantic mammoth level months, you're just knowing that your lifestyle's not going to change as much, so you're optimizing for something different. So props to you on that. Now, in terms of timelines, there's also two interesting things that I want to touch on. Number one, the word that came up for me is just like the marathon mindset. And obviously I'm biased because I think in terms of marathons, but talk to me about running, bro. You're optimizing on a different timeline there.
Yeah, that's another kind of extension of what we're talking about. It's like it's a new pursuit, man. Like one thing I like about running is nothing else really matters when you're doing it. It like it's like the ultimate version of like being present, especially if you're doing like no music, long distance. And I could really like, if I'm looking at the, the benefits of running, yes, there's a physical benefit, but like the mental side of things is like really right up there. And it honestly is very complementary to, running a business or chasing a high income, because you need to be able to unplug. And, I like it a lot, man. I used to not like it at all. And that's kind of another reason why I got into it. But yeah, running's been super cool. It's hard to keep on weight when you run, but besides that, it's fun.
Yeah, man. I think for me, I was learning all this personal development stuff and watching all these YouTube videos, but I didn't really have a container or like a methodology to demonstrate the things that I was learning. And I consider myself to be someone who's fairly mentally tough. But running gave me a platform to just really check myself and make sure that I was who I said I was. And it's done so much for me. I think a lot of times especially with sales reps, because it is a sport, you have to treat yourself like an athlete. The thing though is that if you only have sales, you can be obsessed for a while. And I was talking to John about that, like having your season of obsession with that. But after you get yourself to a solid income level, having something outside of sales is super important.
Dude, I think a funny argument with running is like, people are like, it's so boring. There's another argument that people make is like, it's not good for you. Like, it's not good for your joints. And like, there's definitely something in that if you do it long enough and you put on
It's total BS.
Yeah. Well, the main one that I wanted to address is like, it's boring, dude. Like, you're just going in a straight line or whatever. And my response to that is like, yeah, that's the point.
That's the point.
Like in this world, dude, it's so easy, like with our phones and just like where we live, friends, all that. It's so easy to just like never have time to truly unplug. And it's difficult, dude. Like even training for like your races, when I was training for like the last marathon, there was times where I was like, dude, I got to run 7 miles and it's going to be the most boring shit in the world. And I don't want to do this right now, but you always come back from a run feeling better, not just physically, but mentally,
Yeah. And that's why once you do it, then you're going to be so much happier that you did it. And the dopamine comes afterwards. And I would say, yeah, that's literally the point. Like, get bored. Have you tried that before? It's like,
yeah.
And one thing I want to also tell the audience is like, you should look for ways to have some sacred hours, whether that's writing or journaling, or for me, it's mostly running. And it's not being still, but it is being present. And I would go insane if I didn't have that, man. Like that kind of quiets all the noise. And I tell people there's so many side-by-sides and analogies that I could put from running to running a business, like running miles, running sales teams. That's all I do is just run and run things, right? And so if you want to sharpen your skill set in sales or in a certain expertise, a lot of times you need to go sharpen your mindset or get your fitness right. And obviously it's not like, nuanced advice, but if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to do well on the sales floor. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So you've got 4 marathons coming up. You're about to do a quadruple.
Yeah. I was shooting for sub 3 and I'm still going to train for it, but I think I'm a little far out. I think
sub 3 is nutty.
Yeah. I think next season it would be realistic to do a sub 3, but yeah, I want to do the 4 big Texas marathons in one season. So I think it's, Dallas, then San Antonio, then Houston, and then Austin.
What have you learned about setting a crazy goal like that?
It's something to look forward to, man. I think it's Jesse Itzler, if you're familiar with him. He's
big time.
Yeah, he's like every year, or I think it's him or someone else.
Nasogi.
Yeah, every year it's like just do like one big thing on the calendar every quarter, maybe for him. And it's cool to look forward to. That's how the marathon was for me last year, and I kind of like unintentionally did it, but dude, all the time that you put into like preparing for that, if I look back in reflection, I'm like, I think like aside from me just getting faster at running, I think I was able to like really work through a lot by going through all that training and just like better myself,
Yeah, I remember. First of all, that's awesome, dude. And like 4 marathons, especially at your pace, like I could never. Obviously, I've got the long distance thing, and I'm going
That's different, dude. Yeah, I can.
more that direction. But I couldn't. I'm not even close to I would struggle to hit a 4-hour marathon. But doing 4 in a row is nuts, man. Props to you for that. And I would encourage the audience, like, just put something on your calendar that's nuts. And I think I might have said this or touched on it a little bit already, but voluntary suffering is a big one, because you're already going to suffer. Things are going to happen. Life's going to hit you in the face. If you put yourself in a voluntary suffering container, then it's going to make you way more equipped to like deal with the things that come up. Because for me, it's like, yeah, we don't hit our projections. Somebody hits a refund, whatever. Something happens in the company that's really stressful. It's like, yeah, well, I can default to, it's probably not as hard as running 200 miles, So it gives a good frame of reference. Have you felt that you've started to maybe just think of other things as easier because you're out there smashing 7, 10, 15-mile runs on your long runs?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's something behind that, but yeah, it's something I'm still like working through, because like, same thing with like, I used to go to the gym really early in the morning because I had a 7 a.m. in-person meeting in roofing. So I'd go to the gym at like 4:45 and definitely like, you hear people say that with working out. It's like, get the hardest part of your day done first. Right now I'm not running super frequently. Like I'm running like 2 days a week, just like maintaining. But yeah, there's something to that for sure. Like doing the hard stuff.
100%. And one thing I want to highlight and give you props on is your consistency with content and just showing up every single day continuously. One thing that I've found with myself is that I'm not consistently great, but I am occasionally phenomenal. And I would rather trade that for being more consistently good. Because if you look at a graph, I think Patrick Bet-David put this up somewhere when I was studying his stuff a long time ago, probably some years back. The person that's occasionally like the Michael Jordan, I would rather have someone who's consistently at like a B+ level every single day, because you can expect it. And over time, the volume and the throughput is more. And
so, it compounds.
What would you say, to go back to your story, you started posting content, like, what would you say to someone who wants to get into the content game, but just might be overthinking it, or they're just like, time is passing by and they're not doing it consistently?
Just to keep it super simple, I would say just start. And if you're listening to this and you hear this guy say, just start with no explanation, you're probably thinking, what about this? What about that? This or that? Like, that's your problem, like stop thinking, just do it. Start doing.
Yeah. And so, the community that you built is what has gotten you to all these new heights. Talk to me a little bit about kind of how it's evolved, and like, what are some of the coolest things that you've learned after building a community? And you also have an event coming up that it might be sold out already, which is
close. Close, dude. Yeah, man. I mean, there's a lot of people in this sales space. You know them. I know them. Homies with some of them. And I'm really, like, when I'm looking at things, I'm trying to like solve the problem in the most efficient way. What is the problem? These people want to get into remote setting or closing jobs. They don't know how to. There's a lot of uncertainty. Is the problem sales training? I got to the point to realize it's not that, because I know people that have done all the training in the world, $20,000, $30,000 worth of training, can't even land a good offer to save their lives. So I really boiled it down to like, it's the stuff that happens before all that. It's the interviews, the resumes, the Loom videos, the prep, having access to the jobs in the first place. And so we really like focus heavy on that front end and making sure that people are the best applicants possible. So that way the throughput of their like application funnel, they put 10 applications out, they're getting 7 interviews versus 10 applications out getting 2 or 3, And so it's a combination of a lot of different things, but we're really focused on that. And then we have an event that we're doing. It's our third one here in Austin.
Let's go.
You're locked in, yeah?
100%.
So, dude, we have a lot of big people coming, but September 26th, 27th, you go to these seminars. I'm not saying you, but like people go to these sales seminars. You go to a hotel conference room. You sit there for 6-8 hours, listen to people talk, and you're like, yeah, I learned, but like I'm kind of getting bored, Or And then they open it up and it's like some super like weird networking thing where you don't know these people, and some of these people you don't even want to know. It's like, so we're trying to like, I guess, flip that upside down, and this is what we did last year and what we'll do this year. But like, we want to have some of that. We want people to be able to like come here and learn and meet with people, but like we want to make it fun. That's why we have a lot of like activities planned, like the boat on Lake Travis or going to like Barton Springs. People love that place. And so, yeah, I think, the most important thing in this industry is not the sales training. So I'm trying to like align the event with what I've diagnosed to be the most important thing. Like, how do we bring that to life and like take advantage of all these people in the same place? And it's like knowing the right people. Just knowing the right people is huge. It gets you in. And then learning a little bit about like, we're going to have some speakers up, and that's kind of the plan, man. Just like make an event that people want to come to year after year after year.
Absolutely. And I'll give you a shout out. I wasn't previously at the last two, but I'm so pumped to be at this one. And even just being in the Telegram group chat with the folks, it's like, oh yeah, these are some heavy hitters. And I'll give another shout out to my guys, Dean, Will, and Sean at SalesCon with Hardly Selling. They crushed it. And it was a good mix of, talks and things like that. But what I found to be the actual most impactful about their event itself was the people that was in the room.
It always is, dude. You can go listen to the best, most educated people in the world on whatever topic. It's always the people that, like, what kind of person does that attract? And then just being surrounded by all those people is always the best thing. It's the same for me with like coaching programs and communities. It's like, yeah, I learned a thing or two that probably helped me, and I'm grateful for that. But these couple of people that I met, like, my life is different because of that.
I'm so glad you said that. I've got some thoughts. So I've invested probably 80 grand into coaching and mentorship and communities. And I think that I'm the type of person that's going to make the investment back and make the return back and find the thing that makes the return, even if it's one quote that I start to live by because of it, or one piece of the training. But really what I've found is that the people that I get connected with are just such a high caliber, and it filters out people that aren't willing to pay to play. And for anybody who's maybe on the fence about joining, whether it's Dylan's program or anything for that matter, whether it has to do with sales or not, just pay it, dude. Because if you have to be careful, right? There's a bunch of people that have a shitty program, but if you think that these people are up to something super cool and you go in and you get connected with some level-headed, right-minded folks, it's gonna change everything. It's gonna change absolutely everything. And so if you're on the fence about investing in yourself, just do it. And you'll go through a couple bad iterations. Like, I've invested into a couple programs that were just like, it was totally not it. But then I invested into the one that made all of them worth it. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's the people, and the people who are willing to pay to play. They're also, once you're behind that paywall, it's kind of like a country club, right? Once you join and you're in that community, it's like a brand, it's like a stamp, and it's an inner circle thing. And if you're looking for community, the best way is to go pay to be in one. Yeah, dude.
There's two ways to do it, man. Time or money. Money comes back, especially like if you're pursuing remote sales, you're pursuing a business, and there's a potential, people make 10, 15, 20 beyond that per month. It's like the opportunity cost is very expensive, but like with time, when you're trying to solve this problem with time alone, one, you're using the time. Two, you're having like a lower likelihood of actually achieving the result. So you're using the time to maybe not achieve the result. Whereas if you use the money, this money can come back exponentially if it works, and you're surrounding yourself with information, with like potential like mentors, connections, and they're not all going to work out like you said, dude. I've spent a lot of money as well on stuff. Some of it was great and changed my life. Some of it, I opened it a couple of times. Like I'm in one right now that it's a local, and I'm just like, I don't even, I spent 12.5 grand on this, and I don't even want to use it anymore. Like, but there's a lesson in that too, So, I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting topic. And you see the people, man, like people like you, people like me, people similar, that like they've been able to do really good things at a young age. And it's not because they buy courses. It's because they take bets,
Oh,
So
bar.
let's clip that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, buying a course, buying a program, whatever is like just one part of the bet, right? There's an execution side and everything. So
Yeah, with that being said, like if someone's at the end of a sales call with my company, which we don't help salespeople, we help product managers land roles at top tech companies. And these people are already making six figures typically, and they're either at a company or they've been laid off, but either way, they're really high caliber and they're trying to get to this next thing. If they're at the end of that call and it's simply like a bit of nerves, I just ask them these three questions. I'm like, do you trust us to actually get you where you're trying to go? Yes. Okay, perfect. Do you trust yourself to actually execute on the thing that you're going to do? Like you're going to show up and actually do the clinics, get the help, ask for help when you need it. Okay, boom. And then you have the money. Yes or no? Like, is this investment going to put you on the street? Okay, great. So you've got the money, you're willing to do the work, and you trust us to deliver. So let's do it. And a lot of times people still talk themselves out of it because of fear of loss or fear of failure. But that's the perfect way to summarize it. It's that buying a coaching program like that, if those three things are true, you trust the person, you trust yourself, and you've got the money, it is taking a bet on yourself. And the person isn't going to do it unless it's like a done with you or done for you service. If it's a coaching program, it is taking a bet on yourself, and I'm going to bet on myself. And if you're already doing well and you're making 10 grand a month, well, then every month that you spend without that solution is literally costing you 10 grand. And so people don't think about that because you don't have to swipe a credit card on your time spent. It just goes out the window. And so if you ever did a time audit of where you're spending your time, you'd be like, oh my God, I'm bleeding in all these areas.
Yeah, we're both 27. I'm not, we're not old by any means, but I feel like I'm at that age where it's like, I'm starting to realize how much that lost time can sting. And so that's why I'm pretty particular about, that now. And, I do pay a lot. I mean, cause I'm in a position to do it, but even if I were in a lesser position, I would still, use my money and exchange it for like convenience or that kind of thing.
It's like paying down your ignorance tax and saving time, which is saving money, right? And I would encourage anybody and everybody to do that. Like figure out a way to cut down your ignorance tax, because what you think might take you a couple months to figure out is probably going to take you a year. And I'd rather just jump to the front of the line, So that being said, we're both 27. For me, I think I heard this Jordan Peterson video a long time ago that he basically broke it down like, let's say you're in your 20s and he was doing this for college kids and you watch TV for, let's say, 4 hours a day. And he did, an exercise like raise your hand if you watch TV or you not waste time, but you just kind of sit around for 4 hours a day after school. Okay. So that's 5 days a week. That's 20 hours. And let's say you do that for 50 weeks out of 52 in the year. That's, 1,000 hours, right? That's 1,000 hours times, let's say your time is worth $50 an hour, even though at that age, if you think about compounding, it's worth way more. Even 1,000 hours times 50,000, like times 50 is 50,000. Like you're basically wasting $50,000 a year by simply watching TV. And I literally threw my TV away that day. I discarded it. I gave it away, and I hadn't had a TV since.
That's funny.
I have one now, but like for years, I thought about that, and that really stuck with me.
Yeah.
So being 27 now, you mentioned that you had today's actually a really important day for you, July 25th. What is the date?
Half a decade with my lady, fiance. Yeah. So when we met, dude, it was, I don't think I told you, but completely different life. I was an Amazon driver, and we were both in college. So like, yeah, special day.
Wow,
sure.
Man. Well, if you're okay, we can keep it, fairly private. But for those listening, like, did you think you'd ever hit 5 years? I mean, like, obviously you had that hope, but I guess the question I'm trying to ask is, how does that even feel like thinking about it?
It's good, man. I did think, I mean, not, whenever when we first got together, like, of course you're hopeful that, if you decided that this is the person that you want to spend time with for a long time, you're hopeful that it lasts 5 years. But, even going back before that, like finding like a long-term partner that I could have kids with and like grow old with, like that was similar to like wanting to make a lot of money. That was like something I wanted to be very intentional about. So I always had this like delusional belief, but maybe it's not that delusional, that like I would find that person. But it's crazy, man. Like I think, in today's day and age, like 50% of marriages are ending in divorce. And, you and I both know people that have gone through probably a bunch of relationships. And, it's kind of a normal thing, but dude, there's a lot of benefits to like having that person in your corner, through thick and thin. And especially as an entrepreneur, or as just like a sales professional, like, there's highs and lows. And if you can have like that like steady, like rock, I guess you could say, in your life, like the anchor, it definitely helps you see through some of those times that are tough.
Yeah, man. Well, shout out to you guys both for building something that is built to last. And I think when we were talking about timelines earlier, I wanted to allude to that, just playing on a longer time horizon, right? And so if you're out here, and people would today like always want to talk about freedom, right? And it's like, I want to be free. It's like, okay, what does that actually mean though? And, Jocko talks about discipline equals freedom. And whenever you have a calendar, like if you live your life by a calendar, then that actually, instead of creating a constraint, it creates freedom.
It does, yeah.
And so the same thing can be applied to relationships, where people talk about they want to be free, and more people over 30 now are single than ever before. And more women over 30 aren't having kids than ever before. And it's actually like extremely alarming. I'm not the guy to make comments on anything political or what people do with their lives. Like that's just not me. But I will acknowledge the fact that if you want to be free, building a relationship with someone is actually one of the most liberating things, because you've made your decision, you've made your commitment, and now you're free from having to think about who it is going to be. And, ultimately at the end of the day, this whole like culture is kind of going further and further from that traditional.
Yeah, bro. It's a super deep subject, but it's really hard to do all the things that, our parents did now. Like everything's expensive. Like wages are not going up in proportion to how much things cost. And yeah, dude, like back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, like you could raise a 2-3 kid family off of like one wage, and live a decent life. And now it's like, dude, even me, I could have 2-3 kids today and we'd be fine. But like the thought of that is like, shit, like got to keep the foot on the gas, like if we want to have the life that we want to have, it's a tough situation out there.
Yeah. Well, props to you for building it, man. And I can't wait to see you guys, keep going and hit a decade.
Yeah.
And that's the real marathon.
For real. Yeah, dude. It's pretty crazy, man. I don't know too many other people that are like our age that are like still, I know some people that are married and that have, but like majority of people are not. And so it is cool to kind of think of.
Yeah. One of my buddies, just Pierce, my running coach, who helped me cross the finish line at Moab, he just got engaged. He proposed after breaking the Guinness World Record.
That's him.
Yeah.
I saw that.
So he did the most consecutive days in a row running a half a marathon on a treadmill. He's still going. He's on like day 140 something. And I think he's going to go to 153 because one of his boys is coming into town. He's just going to finish it with him. Yeah. The record was 126. He's someone who he's younger. He's probably like 22, but I definitely look up to him in that regard. And that was one of his kind of like declarations, was that he was going to go find his wife, and he did. So I think it does have something to do with sales, because you had to be a great closer to secure the bag on that. So anybody watching that, maybe it's time,
Yeah, dude, I sold myself. The way that we even ended up together, it was like a perfect example of what sales is. And I wasn't even in sales at the time.
How'd you sell yourself, if you're open to sharing?
Outbound, pool table, went up, like, my boy was like, hey, we had necks on the pool table. He's like, yo, there's a couple of girls. So I was like, all right, I'll go up if I can call the one on the right. And I did. We played pool, won, kind of fizzled out. COVID happened, and then followed up. I saw her on like Hinge after that, and hit the Omnichannel follow up.
Bang.
And then we basically started hanging out, and I think within 3 months we were together. So it was like over the course of like 4 or 5 months, met her to like started hanging out.
Yep. But sometimes the sales cycle, it's not a one call close all the time, man. It's not gonna happen.
Exactly.
You gotta work that pipeline, dude. There's so many lessons in there, and I think that one of the things I was talking to Noah Susong about was he asked me this question, like, how do you have such an awesome network? Like, I got to get like you. And I was like, dude, one thing I've been thinking about a lot is everybody talks about closing, but you have to be a good opener. And not all openers are good closers. But if you're a good closer, you should really become a good opener as well. And that's how you ended up landing, the best deal arguably of your life, right?
Yeah, exactly. I made a tweet whenever I proposed. We had like a cool engagement, something about close a huge deal or something. In true sales guy fashion. But yeah, dude, that's actually good. I've never really thought about that.
It's like, think about this. If you want to be successful and you're not willing to talk to strangers, you're done. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry.
That is arguably the hardest part. It was for me. And I still, to this day, dude, I'm not the guy to like open up stuff with people I don't know. If I get introduced, whatever, like completely cool. And I can do it if I really need to, but just by default, dude, that's not me.
Well, I would challenge that a little bit because you put yourself online every single day.
Yeah, that's easier though. Cause like I'm just talking to myself.
Sure. I think that's where I need to be reframed a little bit, because I'll talk to every single person. I'm really big on paying people compliments too, by the way. For me, it's kind of who I am as a person. Like my personality trait is like, my number one personality trait is the woo, like win others over personality trait. And so I always try to give someone a compliment. Here's a couple easy ways for you to do this if you're listening and you're not good at this. You don't have to go and do cold outbound to women and do the whole thing, although that is a good exercise and it can help. When you go to a coffee shop, just simply tell the barista that they have a great smile. And before you tell them they have a great smile, ask them for their name. That's like the easiest way. Hey, what is your name? Oh, you have such a great smile. And if it's a guy, I always go, dude, you're looking sharp today. And if they got a new haircut and I can tell, nice haircut, bro. Or like if they are like pumped up and they just left the gym, like you hit back and buys, I could tell. And it's just like this little thing, and it makes them smile. And I mean, maybe some people think I'm cringy. I don't actually care, but I've always tried to reduce my social anxiety to zero. And if you know me, like I do not have social anxiety.
Yeah.
I can pretty much speak to anybody, and it didn't always feel that way. Like even with girls, like a long time ago, I was nervous and I got scared when I was about to talk to someone. But same thing with running. Like you're either nervous or scared at the beginning of a marathon, but you're gonna go do it anyways, and it'll pay off, and you get to the finish line.
Yeah, and if you really like zoom out on everything that's happened in your life, there were things that were like, I think this may be a Hormozy thing that he said, like if you zoom out, you look at everything on your life in a timeline, there's going to be like big spikes in a positive direction and negative direction. And I'm kind of making this part up, but like this is the analogy. It's like all this stuff that is like super awesome that you work super hard for, as time goes on, it doesn't seem as significant. And same with the bad stuff. Like you could be this week, you have something that is like a huge financial expense, and you're like, dude, I'm so bummed. Maybe it's like a hospital event. It just like completely screws you. But like fast forward 5-10 years, you're still here, and that seems way far less significant. So nothing in the grand scheme of things is ever as significant or detrimental as you might think.
Yeah, man. That's such a great framework to think through, because if you just zoom out, 6 months ago, you were praying for this. And if you don't feel that way and you feel the opposite, then just zoom out even further and remind yourself that in 6 months from now, you can put yourself in a position to where you prayed for this and then it happened. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is we underestimate what can happen in just a few years. We always have to overestimate what can happen in a year or a month or a week. but I would encourage everyone to just think through, like 3 years ago, man, I was dead broke. Even 2 years ago, like I was literally knee deep in debt, buying lattes at McDonald's with half a debit card and half quarters. Like I kid you not. And 2 years later, I'm sitting here just like my life has completely changed in 24 months. And so whenever you look at a timeline, if it's a zig and a zag, the zags feel deeper, like they're cutting you because it's relevant, and that's like the recency bias. But yeah, it's just about zooming out. One thing Layla Hormozy actually said on a clip that I saw was that guy, I can't remember his name, the gay guy that makes those hilarious videos, the bald dude. He's like gigantic. I can't think of his name, but anyways, he makes these funny like FaceTime reels where he's just like FaceTiming with his audience, and like people just love it, and I love it too. He was at a conference and he interviewed Layla Hormozy, or he didn't interview her, but he asked her a question. He was talking about resilience, and he's like, "What does resilience mean?" And she said something along the lines of, resilience is when something happens to you, not to disregard it, but how fast do you get back to the baseline? And it's like, hey, I just had a hospital bill. Like, oh my gosh, freak out for a second, but I'll be all right and I'll survive. And I've been thinking about that a lot. Like for people that might feel like life is just smacking them in the face, you can also just build the skill of resilience. And my mentor always frames everything as a skill. It's like, hey, broke up with a girl and you're heartbroken, skill issue. Like anything you can frame as a skill and just get better at it. And so for those who are listening, like if you're going through some tough stuff, another great framework is this is going to be such a cool part of the story once I get there. And that's when I hang on to a lot too.
Yeah. I think once you start to like build the story a little bit, it's easier to think of it like that. But in the beginning, it's definitely really hard. Like you're like, dude, I'm just trying to get something started here. And I can't seem to like, I don't like it. I think as you start to find some more and more success, you start to believe that success is possible, like genuinely. And then you approach things with a more delusional self-belief, and it gets easier to say like, this is going to be a sick part of the story. But in the beginning, man, it's hard. It's going back to what we were talking about earlier. Like people can tell you this thing all day long, left and right. And until you start to experience it for yourself, it doesn't actually really mean as much. So yeah, I think it's important to, take advice, but also like you're going to make mistakes. Like mistakes are part of it.
Yeah. And I would encourage everybody to increase their failure rate. Like turn up the dial on your failures. Like let's go ahead and fail like 10 times more. I think there's a quote going around, like if you knew that you were 30 failures away from success, like how fast would you fail? And so one thing I also think about a lot is dopamine, and how when we get wins, we get dopamine, right? Like after a run, after a lift, after a sale, after someone responds to, your application for an interview. And so how can you optimize your life to where you get quick wins? One of the quickest ways to do that is go for a run, because you will know what to do afterwards. And it's like Jordan Peterson talks about, like clean your room and then you'll know what to do next. Just like, how can you stack the small wins and decrease the likelihood that you fall into gigantic potholes? One thing I think a lot of people don't talk about in the space for the younger folks who are breaking into sales or just kind of trying to find their way, and they're just completely feeling like lost, or hey, like I'm just, woe is me, like I'm trying but nothing's happening, and am I crazy? Even simply just mitigating your risk and just not going to jail, that's like a huge win. And especially if you're young, like if you're 20 years old or younger, which we're starting to see more and more people with social media becoming like, I'm 16, I'm cooked. Like,
Yeah.
it's like what?
Yeah.
The only objective you should have between 16 and 20 is just don't go to jail.
Just
like,
don't fuck it up.
Just don't make a gigantic mistake, because it'll be all right, and it doesn't happen overnight. And do you find that interacting with some of your people in your community or just your followers, do you feel like they're maybe struggling with that? Because I have heard a few common things with going to a few of these masterminds and seeing these young sales guys. They're kind of like lost in this comparison game. And I certainly was there too, for the record. Like I was comparing myself to everybody under the sun, and did a good job of training myself out of that. But have you noticed that with maybe your followers or people that haven't yet hit it? Have you noticed any of that?
a lot of the people that work with me, I feel like they work with me because they kind of align with a lot of the values, and we sell like a high ticket offering, so it's like it's a pretty specific person that comes in. Just if I'm talking to people in the DMs, like, yeah, absolutely, but yeah, it's crazy to think about, dude. I was I work with people that are 21, 20, 19 that are pushing for a 10K month, dude. When I was 21, like I was smoking weed at the skate park. Like when I tell people that, I'm just like, dude, like you see where I'm at now, but when I was your age, like I was not doing what you're doing. So like I like to kind of encourage people that way. It's like, dude, if you can just stay the course, like you're not too far away from like a really good thing.
Dude, you could literally fuck up the next like 4 years, and as long as you don't do it gigantically, then you'll be okay. And matter of fact, like it's gonna happen. Like so many people talk about the success story and the young kid who invested in a Dogecoin and is a millionaire or whatever. Like I've said this. I know we talked about this when I was super caffeinated on your pod. That'll be coming soon. Like this Instagram thing being fake news. Maybe we can spend some time talking about expectation setting and how in the sales space specifically, it is getting out of hand. And I'm all of the belief that you can set the bar high and go there. One framework that I like to think through myself is if I ever feel behind, it's either I'm not patient enough, I'm not effective enough, or I'm comparing myself to other people. And the comparing thing, you just got to reduce it and just eliminate it if you can. It's very tough. And everybody deals with it to some degree. But being patient and being effective are two skills. So it's either get better at increasing the likelihood that you make that amount, or get more patient because it does take time. What would you say about like, you're someone that I really, really appreciate the way that you set the frame in this space, but a lot of these faulty expectations are coming through. Do you see that within your community, even with people thinking that they need to be at 50K a month, like next month, or outside, maybe not within your community, but we can talk about like kind of outside in the industry. It's really getting out of hand.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think it's the people that, similar to me, it's the people that like expose people to what this is, but do it in a wrong way. They're the ones that kind of set the false expectation. I feel like I know more people that like write off course sales as like closing commissions to sell a course on closing than those who don't do that. So like people are like, oh, here's a 100K a month closer that, handling the spouse objection. And like, there's a lot of young guys kind of leaning into that. And I don't know, it kind of rubs me the wrong way, but I think there's a lot of like, again, I know more people that do it that way than don't. And I have people that come to me and they're like, yeah, I bought this and these programs, and I'm just trying to make 50K a month, like you mentioned. And and it's like, dude, you think 50K a month is just happens because you buy things? Like, no, like.
Yeah, let me give it a little, how much time do we got? Okay. If you make 50 grand a month, you are in the top 1% of income earners in America at any age. And that means you're also including the people that are 4 times your age. Let's bring it back down to reality. So if you're between 21 and 29 and you make 50K a month, it's like 1 in, I don't know, 10,000 people. It's not real. And I can say that because I've made just about that amount, and it took an astronomical amount of effort, luck, and time. And I would say luck is one of the bigger ones on that one. And so please, for the love of goodness gracious, please don't say the words, I'm just trying to make 50K a month, because it's so ridiculous. And that's what I was talking about, like with Instagram and these expectation setting. It's like, this is not real life, dude.
Yeah.
Maybe they made 50K once. And like, to make $600,000 in a year, you have to eat crap for years and rise to the top of the ranks of an organization. I got on a call with someone who I interviewed for the closer position, and they did this hilarious thing. He was asking me about the offer and about all the revenue and stuff like that. And then he kind of did this like, and he sent me this awesome little video with his closing stats and stuff. And he said that his offer was going down. And then he was going from like, 100 calls a month to like 50, and it was kind of fizzling out. And I thought, okay, this guy's pretty sharp. Like, he knows his numbers. He recognizes that he needs to be in a better opportunity. And we get into the conversation, and within about 10 minutes, he starts asking me all these clarifying questions and discovery questions. I'm like, okay, he's asking me the right questions. I'll roll with this. Like, this is cool, as I would show up the same way. But then he kind of bait and switched it, where he basically said he was an agency owner that comes in and helps businesses like fix their accounts receivable and upsell, like helps them with upsells. And he wanted to come into the business and help us with our accounts receivable and build an upsell. He didn't even say build a system. He said he wasn't going to build a system, but that he would upsell our existing clients, and he wanted 30%. And I was like, dude, like, what are you talking about?
So was he a closer or was he an agency owner?
He was a closer that was building some sort of offer around like coming in and helping people. And it just went through like, I sat there with him for like an hour and a half, and I was like, dude, please, for the love of God, like, recognize and zoom out that you're screwing people over if anybody goes for this, and no one that knows what they're talking about is going to go for it. Anyways, the point is everyone has these weird expectations about getting to these astronomical income levels overnight. You got to respect the game, brother. You got to respect the game.
Yeah.
Like, don't come to me with that.
Yeah, dude, I know people that have done, over $50K a month. I don't know anybody who's done over $600,000 in a year on a 10% closing commission. Like, dude, there's people here in Austin, man. They claim that their closer's making $100K a month. Whole time they're equity partners in something, and they don't tell people, or like they're doing more than just closing, but they're just like selling the closing dream. Like they're like, I make this much money, high ticket closing, do it. And there's it's okay to do other things and make more money, but like, don't say that you're making that money by doing something that you're not.
Yeah, you're not making money from closing. You're making money from selling the dream of closing. And that just really doesn't sit right with me. I was talking to one of my mentors about it, and it's just like, oh man, like, the dark art of marketing is that you're selling health to fat people, and you're selling riches to poor people, and you're selling beauty to ugly people. And, however you feel about that is up to you. But like, I just really want to increase the integrity in the space, and I want to increase the level setting of expectations. Like, if you come to me and you say you just want to make 20K a month, we got to do some reframes, because you're in another planet. Like,
yeah, I think it's good to have goals, but if you said, I just want to do 20K a month and I don't really expect to get there within the next year, but I want to work towards it, like, it's a completely different thing. And you could get there in a year, you could get there in less than 6 months, but like it's good to shoot for the stars, but you need to have a realistic action plan. Like, buying a course and showing up to some live calls and watching course material does not make you the person worthy of 20K a month.
Yeah. And let me go in the opposite direction, which is like, yes, I literally did that. I set a goal for 20 grand a month. It took me 16 months to hit it. And I was close a couple times, and I hit 15, and I hit 18, I hit 19. And then I finally cracked 20, and then 25, and then 30. But the amount of sacrifice that I had to make to hit that, and I got lucky with the vehicle that I was in. I was prepared for the vehicle, and I took advantage of it when I got it. But there's so many ingredients that have to come into play. And so if you want to make 20 grand a month, that's great. Great. Seriously. But understand how hard it's going to be, and understand that it's not going to come from, Hormozy said it best. It's like, you want to make top 1% income, you have to do top 1% actions. And that means patience, endurance, sacrifice, showing up early, leaving late. You're not going to have both. It's just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. The luck is a big part of it, but luck, you can manufacture higher odds at luck,
Yes. And that's one thing we can end on. Like, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And so increase your likelihood of running into opportunity and increase your preparation. And then magically you're lucky, right?
Yep.
Like, I am only sitting here in Austin because I DM'd Dylan, and that only happened because my buddy Josh ran into him, and then they connected, and then we started selling together. And I can point back all the great things that have happened to me, from shooting my shot, increasing my opportunity by reaching out to people, and increasing my skill set by preparation. And that's the only reason I'm in Austin. And so here we are. So
about to move here.
yeah, we'll save that for the next pod. But yeah, we're in Austin, man. I cannot wait to run it up with you, bro. Seriously, thank you for coming on. Thank you for interviewing me, and thank you for what you're doing for the space. I really, really appreciate the angle that you've taken with the sales industry as a whole. And I just know you're the person that's going to stand when all these quick and fly-by-night people are gone. So I can't wait to see you build the next one. Congrats on 5 years with your fiance. I can't wait to see the next 5. And this is going to be one of many pods that we'd rip in the in the pod room.
For sure. Appreciate you having me on, dude.